Hi there, beautiful souls. Welcome to the first Unmask Your Mind podcast of the year. Happy New Year. This is the new year, 2025. If my daughter were here, she would say podcast number 13. That's Taylor Swift's favorite number. But honestly, it's the new year, 2025. I'm Annie Sousa, your host, and I am so excited to kick off 2025 with all of you. This year has been quite a year this past year, right? All of us have a lot of journey, a lot of things that we've gone through, ups and downs. So let's continue unmasking our true selves, embracing healing, and growing into the best version of who we are. Today's episode is a topic that actually feels especially meaningful as we start fresh in the new year. Healing through connections. Connections, that's quite a word. Connections, whether with others, our community, or ourselves, is a powerful way to heal and thrive. Millennials, especially women, are often balancing so much on their plate, from careers to relationships to personal growth. It's easy to feel stretched thin, but building authentic connections can be a lifeline. We'll also be answering some listener questions later in the episode, so stay tuned for that. And if you haven't already, make sure you're following me on Instagram at unmask.your.mind for updates, inspiration, and community. All right, grab your favorite drink, cozy up, and let's dive in together. Let's start with this. What does connection mean to you? For example, it's having a close-knit group of friends. For others, it's feeling validated by a partner or reconnecting with yourself after a long day. No matter what it looks like, connection is a foundational part of being human. And here's why it matters so much. Connection is scientifically proven to improve mental health. It reduces stress, promotes a sense of belonging, and even boosts physical health. But when we experience trauma, neurodivergence, or mental health challenges, connection can feel harder to achieve. It's like this invisible wall goes up, boom, and between us and the world, and that's it. We're done. So I think this year, I want us to break down that wall. Let's prioritize connection, not as something nice to have, but as a non-negotiable part of our healing. Not as a luxury, not as a, it would be so nice to have a Porsche, a Maserati. No. As something that we must have. As a non-negotiable part of our lives. I'm going to share something personal. Before I got my divorce, before I divorced, and I was in a difficult marriage, I remember I had this very few friends. Very few. I can count them with one hand. And those were my confidants. Those were the people I would talk to. At the beginning, it was terrifying. If anybody has been in a bad marriage, and by bad I mean scary marriage, you just don't know if you're like, it's a surreal feeling. And when you finally realize that it's okay, you don't have to be ashamed of it, you start opening up to those people. So that's what I'm trying to say. And that's the reason why I'm sharing this personal story. When I finally realized that connection was essential for my survival, I started talking to this group of friends. And the reason why I'm sharing this personal story with you guys is because I want to emphasize the following. The reason why I was able to survive what I did and then endure what I did and everything that I went through, to this day, I give the credit to those group of friends. They say about me, my strength, blah, 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 but they have no clue. As much as I tell them, they still don't believe it. And they're always saying, oh, what can I do for you? They did it all by listening, just giving me the space, the safe space, without judgment, for me whenever I felt in a very difficult moment to just talk to them, have that connection. That helped me to give me the strength to vent, get it out of me so I could be strong for my babies at the time. So I could be strong for my 2 kids. So I could keep holding the facade, if you will, for the rest of the world, keep holding the strength, could keep able to develop a plan, how to protect the babies, how to protect myself, how to deal with this situation. And let me not even get started in how much that helped me through the divorce and starting over. So what I'm trying to say with this personal story is that this is an example of how when we prioritize connection, it can play such a pivotal role in something that it's so necessary in things that are going to be happening in your life that are so important. And maybe you don't even realize, and you think like, oh, okay, I don't need my friend. I don't need to talk to this person. Trust me, it is vital for your survival. So here's a listener's question that perfectly, I think, ties into this. It says here, Annie, I struggle with letting people in. How do I start building connections without feeling overwhelmed? I love this question. And it mentions a little bit what I was saying about my personal story. Yes, sometimes it can be very overwhelming, especially if you're going through something stressful. You have so much bandwidth, right? If you're going through something like what I just discussed in my personal story, or something financial or other things. Or even if you're not going through something, it just can be overwhelming, point. That's it, period, end of sentence. So here's my advice. Start small. And I know it sounds like that's it. Yes, because, and I know I've said this before in other places, always like day by day, baby steps, but it's because it actually is always little by little. Because when you focus on one connection at a time, maybe, I don't know, reaching out to an old friend or joining an online community that shares your interests. Remember, connections, they don't have to be an all or nothing. Even small steps count. And that's going to help you build that stamina, that confidence, to feel comfortable. Oh, listen, this wasn't so scary after all. I'm going to do it again. And not only that, when you start doing it, because you start feeling the reward, then you feel, okay, I'm going to do it again because I definitely need to do this again. So I just want to put that out there. I hope that answers your question. What types of healing connections? So when we talk about healing through connection, it's easy to think only about relationships, right? But there are actually 3 types of connections that can aid in the healing. So let's dive into each one of them. Number 1, connection with others, which I think is the one that most people think of first, right? This is about relationship with friends, family, partners, or even colleagues. For women, this can often feel like a balancing act between giving and receiving support. So here's a secret. Healthy connections thrive on mutual vulnerability and trust. So think about that one friend you can call at any hour, anytime. What makes that connection feel safe? It's likely because they're present, empathetic, and non-judgmental. That word, judgmental, that word, I think it's so powerful. When we have a space where that doesn't exist, I think it can be such a crucial, amazing, genuine, safe space. And those are the relationships to nurture. Number 2, connection with community. This is all about finding your tribe. I cannot say this enough, especially as someone with ADHD. You guys, when you find your tribe, you just don't feel isolated or alone anymore. So whether it's an online group for women in leadership, a local book club, or even a yoga class, part of a community reminds us we're not alone. Listen, even as a parent, finding the school or the parents that align with your beliefs, that doesn't make you feel alone anymore. So for example, many of you have shared that how impactful it is to find neurodivergent communities or mental health advocacy groups. These spaces can be incredibly affirming. So that's why I always encourage people that I see to find, when they're asking me about schools for their kids, find a school that aligns with your needs and your beliefs. Because that is not only going to be affirming for your kid, but also for you. One story I can tell you is that when I moved here, the community that I moved to, the kids have felt it's so different from how they felt back in where we used to live. Now they feel that they belong. Before they felt like they were different. And to be quite honest, so did I. But here it feels more welcoming. We're one of many. It doesn't feel like we're the odd man out. I mean, kids are kids, right? But in all of it, they understand each other. So I think finding the right space and the right community is very affirming. And lastly, connection with yourself. And this one says, I'm saying here lastly, but it's not the least important. Because I've said this in the last podcast, healing starts within. This means that creating time to connect with your inner world, your thoughts, your feelings, your dreams. For many of us, self-connection is the hardest, and I get that. But you guys, it's the most rewarding part of the journey. And what I'm going to say now, I want to make this disclaimer. It doesn't escape me the following examples of things that can help you connect with yourself. I get it. They're not easy for a lot of people, but they can be helpful. So for example, journaling, meditation. I know a lot of people say, Annie, that is so boring. Meditation, I'm going to start thinking about other things. It's inevitable. I get it. So do I. But one thing I've learned reading about it, and even someone that taught me, is that just because your mind wanders off doesn't mean that you're not meditating. Meaning, and let me clarify that. It's not that if you're going to meditate, of course, you have to be in that moment. But you don't have to always be that your mind has to be completely disconnected and clear, because our brains will never going to stop working. That's not normal. That's what I meant. It is okay if your mind wanders off. As long as you come back and try again and you're in that moment, it's okay if your mind wanders off and you have to bring it back. But you're still bringing it back. And journaling. If a lot of people find it hard to write, I've always say this, audio journal. And then this one can be incredibly helpful. Dancing around your room to your favorite music, to your favorite playlist, in your own silly way. That can help you tune into yourself, into who you are, your movements, connect with your body, connect with a version of yourself of who you truly are. Not with what society expects or how you act outside. No, with yourself. Okay, let's get real. Building connections isn't always easy, especially when we're juggling life, work, and personal challenges. So let's tackle some common barriers and how to move past them. Barrier number 1, fear of rejection. It is so common to think, what if they don't understand me? What are they going to think? What if they don't care? Guys, listen, vulnerability is scary, but it's also where connections begin. So I get it's hard to start connecting with people because you think, okay, if I say this, they're going to be thinking X, Y, or and Z. They're going to have this idea of me. What if? And all the what ifs start flooding your head. So how about, this is my tip for fear of rejection. Practice sharing something small first, tiny. Test the waters. And actually test the waters with someone you trust. And the reason why I say this is because imagine, if you're testing the waters with someone you trust, and it's something small first, so you think it's going to be a little easier later. So it's going to help you build that momentum, build that stamina, feel a little confident, or more confident, I should say. Barrier number 2, feeling like a burden. How many fixers, how many people do I have out there that think that have always been the ones that accommodate to everyone? Yeah, this one's for you. When you feel like a burden, there are many women out there, especially those of us that have been juggling career or caregiving, worrying about being too much. But healthy connections are a two-way street. So that means that we have to remind ourselves, hey, you know what? You're worth it. You have to remind yourself you're worth it. You also need to be taken care of. Your needs are important as well. So, this is a tip. Remind yourself that you deserve support just as much as you give it to. So, to the givers out there, you need to let people give as well. And it might be anxiety provoking and uncomfortable, but you have to do it. Barrier number 3, overwhelm. When you feel overwhelmed, that barrier is hard, guys, because sometimes even the thought of connecting can feel exhausting. And to my neurodivergent people out there, I get this. Especially the tip I'm going to say. You're going to be like, are you real? Are you for real, Annie? What is this tip that I'm talking about? Sending one text or attending one meetup this month. Setting a realistic goal. So to all the people out there that are saying, are you kidding me? Texting is so exhausting. I get that. But I'm just saying, set a realistic goal of maybe just one text. One meetup. Because progress is progress, and I get it. It is so hard for us. And it's so hard for people to just sometimes when you're exhausted to just send a text. Especially if you're overwhelmed, which is why it's a barrier, to do all of this. But when you are just doing a little bit, again, like I said before, don't push yourself to be a social butterfly just like that suddenly. No, it's just one text. Then it's going to start something. You're going to start seeing progress, and that's going to give you the energy to push yourself more, because progress is progress. Here's another listener question. How do I rebuild connections I've lost? This is an interesting question. This is actually a tricky question. Doable, but tricky nevertheless. So I would say start by acknowledging the distance without placing blame. This is something I tell a lot of people. And by the way, I want to say thank you to all the listeners out there sending questions. Your questions are amazing and they help a lot with the content. So thank you so much. So this is something I tell people, and I even tell my kids. I don't know to the parents out there, but my kids are great at she started it, he did it, she did it. So I always say this. Imagine you are at the grocery store and you with your cart bump into an older lady. And to anybody out there that starts thinking I have something against older ladies, no. The reason why I say older ladies is because psychologically speaking, we are designed to, when we visualize an older lady, think of our grandma, our grandparents, and then we lower our defenses. That's the only reason why. So imagine you bump into someone, an older lady. And are you going to be like blaming that person? Or are you going to say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Or I'm sorry, are you okay? You probably are going to apologize. You're not going to defend your actions because you're going to be like, I'm so sorry I hurt you. You're going to be like, I'm sorry. Right? Because you know you were the one that hurt the person. Whether you meant it or not, you hurt them. And that's my point. Sometimes we're so caught up in defending ourselves because of childhood issues that we haven't explored. We get defensive. Oh, but I didn't do it because of this. That wasn't my intention. And that's the example of the grocery store. It doesn't matter whether that was your intention or not. The person is reporting to you that the damage was done, which means that you have to apologize regardless. That's just the way it is. So start acknowledging. And the person, to start that, because there was a rupture. So let's start acknowledging that distance without placing the blame. So a simple message like, I know we haven't talked much lately, but I'd love to reconnect. That can go a long way, guys. That can go a long way. And maybe then the person's going to reply and you can have a conversation and you can say it. I'm sorry. Yes, you can then start having a conversation and you can express that wasn't your intention, but I do apologize because I realize I hurt you. And that way you're not placing blame. You are validating the feelings that there was hurt and you're acknowledging your part. But placing blame and trying to defend your actions is very invalidating and triggers the defense mechanisms in other people. I hope this helps. So, all right, let's get into the good stuff. The actionable tips to foster meaningful connections in this new year in 2025. Wow, guys, we're in 2025. That's just mind-blowing to me. Okay, so here it is. Here they are. Number 1, show up authentically. That means, guys, and this one's hard, I get it, but be yourself, quirks and all. The right people will love you for who you are. They're going to love you for it. Your people will be there. And if they don't love you, the people around you, those are not your people. Being with your people is so much healing because you're just yourself. You can finally be yourself and stop with that. Masking is so draining, you guys. They say that people that are unmasking, you can count their circle because you start becoming a little bit more selective. So just show up authentically. It is more healing and less stressful. Number 2, join a new group. Whether it's a hobby group, a professional organization, or an online space, seek out communities where you can be seen and heard. Communities where you feel you belong. Communities where you have a voice, where you don't feel alone. Number 3, prioritize self-connection. Start a morning routine that includes journaling or mindfulness. Here I go again, right? But yes, they are actually very helpful because it helps clear your mind. Start with a purpose. So the stronger your relationship with yourself is, the better your connections with others is going to be. Number 4, celebrate small wins. Guys, this is such a difficult one for people to remember. And I'm going to tell you why. I think we parents sometimes remember, and as people, with ourselves, but we need to celebrate the wins, so that makes us change the way our brain is wired. So, did you send that text or attend that event? That's a win. Give yourself credit. Even if it's a small win, just celebrate it. Oh, but I sent the text, but I didn't make it to the event that I sent the text to. You still send the text. Celebrate the text. That's a win. And then hopefully next time you'll attend the event, but you did part of it. That's a win. Focus on the win. Lastly, be curious. Ask people about their lives, passions, and experiences. Genuine curiosity fosters deep bonds. When you're actually being organic and genuine, people react to that. They respond positive. How do you feel if someone is being genuine, asking you about your lives, your passions, your experiences, your interests? So it's the same thing for them. Genuine curiosity fosters deep bonds. Before we wrap up, I want to share a personal story. Early in my healing journey, I felt incredibly isolated. I felt that I was in this place. And when I found my people, joining community of like-minded people, it changed everything. They reminded me that I wasn't alone, that my struggles didn't define me. It helped me understand that, you know what, Annie, you're not alone. Like I said, this group of friends that I have helped me with the connection to have the strength to get out of a very bad situation, to have the strength to move forward. When things felt very heavy, I just grabbed the phone, started texting, started just venting. And that sense, that community, between the community and between those connections, that has been something that I've cherished and keeps me moving forward. And I truly can say that without that support, I don't know where I would be right now. So I just wanted to say that don't underestimate the power of having that connection. Now, I want to spotlight a listener's comments from Instagram because I think that comment, it was very nice to hear. It said, your podcast gave me the courage to join a local support group for ADHD and it's been life-changing. Thank you, Annie. So to whoever shared that, thank you. That your courage inspires me and everyone listening. Thank you so much for sharing that and for everyone else sharing their questions. All right, friends, that's a wrap for today's episode. Remember, connection is a journey. Whether you're starting small or diving deep, every step you take matters. If you loved today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend who could use some encouragement. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Unmask unmask.your.mind for daily inspiration and updates. Until next time, keep unmasking your mind and living your truth. Cheers to an amazing 2025.